What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Residual Earners Podcast, Season 2, Episode 5. We have an awesome episode today going over commercial real estate, going over multifamily, going over investment properties. It is something that you do not want to miss. I'm Jordan.
I'm Presley.
And I'm going to pass it over to my pops to introduce the man of the hour, a guy that we have learned so much from. We're just super excited that he's on the podcast. I'll pass it over to Presley to make the full intro.
Well, it's a pleasure because this young man used to play basketball for me. I have literally watched him grow up, and he is basically one of my kids. He's just one notch under Jordan because I love this guy. And he was kind enough to say he would jump on our podcast with us today, and we're excited to have him here. And, guys, I want to introduce you to LaDell Buggs.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing, man? What's up, Pops? How you doing, man? Good to see you, baby.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, brother. What's up, baby?
Thanks for coming on.
For sure. Let's get it.
Oh, my gosh. Hey, give people a perspective of how we met and kind of how our relationship got going, Buggsy.
I first met, I call him Dad, but Coach Swaggerty in middle school. Him and Coach Dorsey were Coach Dorsey was kind of recruiting me to go from South Garland area to Lakeview Centennial area because Coach Swaggerty coached my cousin, G.J. Hunter. And it was a full-out recruit. And I said, you know what, I'm going to LC because my cousin went there and I wanted to play for Coach Swaggerty. And so it was a very easy sell, but I actually kind of made Coach Dorsey work a little bit as well also. That's how we met.
And we'll bleep out the word recruiting in there.
Okay.
What's the statute of limitation on recruiting?
I think the statute of limitations is passed. That's just been 20 plus years ago. So I think we passed that. But yeah, I hadn't even thought about GJ in a while.
Yeah.
What's GJ doing these days? Do you know?
GJ is in the web development. So he's doing a lot of online marketing, developing social media platforms, developing websites. So he's been a kind of a computer science guy for a long period of time. He's doing well, though.
That's good. I like GJ could really play.
Yeah,
Heck of an athlete. Could shoot the ball. Ended up going to Tulane.
Yes, he did.
And he was also a phenomenal wide receiver in football. I mean, just a good athlete.
They can't tell you how I'm 45, but I remember Jordo shooting threes when he was like in first, second grade, just throwing it up there.
Yep.
And he was hitting them. Too.
I could shoot.
He could. You really could, brother. You could.
He could shoot. He didn't jump real high, but he could shoot. He could shoot the basketball.
Yes, he could.
Well, all right. Tell us. You get out of Lakeview Centennial High School. You played hoops for me, and then kind of go. What happened to LaDell Buggs the next few years there?
I played college basketball at UT Dallas, University of Texas at Dallas. Played there for a little bit. Tried to go pro, and I got hurt going pro. And so I went from dunking like Kobe Bryant to land up like Steve Nash in seconds. and so after that, I went into business, and I kind of fell in love with real estate. I said, wait a minute. I remember, you remember my Uncle Gary Hunter. My uncle,
oh, yeah.
He introduced me to a term called passive or residual income. And I said, Uncle, what is that? He said, something that you do one time, you get paid over and over again. And I said, why am I finishing college? I want to go do that. So I did get my degree. I got my degree, but I began studying business models that generated a passive income, and I went into real estate. Now I began buying real estate.
Okay, now you like real estate.
Yeah.
You start buying real estate.
Yeah.
Kind of walk us through kind of how you got your company going and kind of the direction y'all went in your company.
Sure. The first deal I actually bought, I was in college, and it was a wholesale deal. And I made $3,500 on it, and so in college that's a big deal. And so drinks.
So you sold a contract? Is that what you did?
I sold a contract.
Yes, made $3,500.
Quick. That went over to. Then I acquired my first property. I renovated it, and made $10,000. That paid for my wedding, so that money was gone quick. And then after that, man, the next deal I made $26,000 on the next deal. It was a house 3 minutes from AT&T Stadium before it was getting built.
Right.
At the time. I made $26,000, and now I own $7 million worth of real estate now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So 3,500 to 10, it just kept growing, and you
Yes.
kept going, hey, this might be a good direction to go.
Just a little bit, yeah. Yeah, I did.
Okay, tell the folks a little bit about what you're doing now. What's LaDell Buggs doing
I am
now?
really big into new construction. Right now, I'm doing a new construction project on the campus of Mississippi State University. I'm building 18 new homes, which is great. Single-family residences, 322s and 422s, which stands for 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garages, or 4 bedrooms, which is fine. We have a waiting list of faculty and students on the campus that want to live kind of off campus, but right near it, and which is great. And so we have a kind of a waiting list for that. And I'm also negotiating land around my subdivision as well, also to begin developing more homes there as well. Yeah.
You know, I'd like to stop you for 1 second
Sure.
here, because I think a lot of people, you know, we went through kind of your track history really quick there of
Sure.
how you went from $0 to $7 million, you know, over a period of time. People get hung up on getting started,
Sure.
and then the financing around getting started, because that's the, you know, the barrier of entry. It's hard to get into real estate, you know,
Sure.
get the financing set up, get it where you can actually buy a property. So give a little bit of that on, you know, if you were getting going today, kind of what that looks like, and maybe some tips there that would help people get moving.
Sure. The first thing about it is my grandma always said, what do you have in your hand? So what do you have that's valuable? You have a great credit score. You have some cash, but you may lack the experience. So I always say, begin to understand what you're strong in and what you're weak in, and begin to build a power team around you. For instance, if you have good credit but lack of cash, you may want to bring on a partner that actually have some cash because they have some experience. If you have the cash but lacking experience, bring someone on that may not have the cash that you may have, but have the experience of being able to operate at that space. And then just come up. I always say, whenever you buy real estate, begin at the end. What's your exit strategy first? Are you going to buy and flip? You're going to buy, renovate, and hold. You're going to buy, renovate, hold, and sell the finance out. You're going to wholesale a contract. What is your end? And then work backwards to the beginning. That's how I've been able to be very successful in real estate.
So I have a few buddies, and one of my best friends, and maybe we can talk a little bit on the podcast about, I have a McDonald's deal that just hit market this past week. His whole deal is value add. So, like, you know, I'm nowhere near your intelligence level when it comes to real estate.
Sure.
I'm nowhere near, you know, how smart of a guy he is when it comes to real estate. But, like, I keep hearing from him, it's all about value add.
Sure.
And, you know, you're going to take a property. What's your value add that's going to change it from the next person buying it? And that's where the value, you know, that's where your money is made and what you can bring to that property.
Exactly. Same thing. I always say the deal brings the cash.
Yeah.
If I bring a deal to the Presley and I say, Coach, I may need a partner on this deal, his first thing going to ask me is, tell me about the deal.
Yeah.
Because they'll let him know if it's a good investment for him or not, or what it may look like. It may be, hey, I need your experience. I may need your balance sheet. I may need some cash in this deal. Or I just may need you just to sit down and talk with you and say, hey, what don't I see in this deal?
Yeah.
And he'll let me know. So the deal really makes everything work.
Definitely. And kind of getting back to people getting going, and something you mentioned earlier, something I've seen with my own two eyes is if you have a deal and you find a good deal, there will be people that want to partner up with you to get that deal bought and you know, get that value add and get that deal sold to make money. So, you know, getting started, you may not be making those big percentages of the deal that you want to, but over time, if you do enough deals and keep, you know, adding that value, making some money off them, being smart with that money where you can reinvest it into the next one, you get to a point where, okay, now, you know, I'm spearheading these deals. I'm the one getting the financing. I'm the one doing the deals, and I'm not having to break it up multiple pieces, you know, and losing out on chunks of equity in that deal. But it's an interesting way to get moving.
It is. If you look at Amazon, if you look at Microsoft, all those companies were began in some type of joint venture, so to speak. So I tell everybody, the greatest strategy you can ever have in real estate or in the business is with the right joint venture partner, and you just negotiate deltas there or spreads there, depending on how much value you bring to the table. The year of the solo entrepreneur is dead.
Yeah.
Partnerships is the key here, specifically in a high intelligence, high informational type of environment right now when it comes to business, because information goes so fast.
Yeah.
You can't theoretically look at every single thing in the business, but you and a partner can. You and 2 or 3 partners can. That makes some sense.
Definitely.
No, it does. And, you know, Buggsy, when I was trying to just get by, I would buy houses, fix them up, and flip them. Now, I actually back then would do the tape bed texturing, painting, roofed them. I mean, I used to do
I
all
wish
that
we
stuff.
could go back and look at some of your handiwork because I don't know that I believe it. I don't know if they're still standing today.
They may not be standing, but I got them fixed up enough to sell, you know.
Hey.
But, you know, I've always loved real estate. Now I have some houses where I bought them, paid cash for them, owner financed them.
Sure.
I've done some stuff like that. I have some commercial property. I really love real estate, and I do think that if people put some effort out in learning, they can make some money in real estate.
They can. Just be okay with being the student. I think in today's society, I think you guys might agree to this, people will love to blow via what they know, but they don't know anything at all. I always come and say, I'd say, Dad, hey, I got a deal I'm looking at, whether it be a private equity deal or a real estate deal. Hey, can you let me know if this makes some sense? And be okay with the criticism.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it because he's telling me this because he loves me. Say, hey, this is not a good deal. I'll walk away from this deal as well also. I brought one deal to you guys before, and Jordan, you was on the phone asking me questions about, well, what about this and this and this? And it was questions that I hadn't thought about. I said, these are great questions. I'm writing them down.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that I don't know everything. I'm not supposed to know everything.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. That makes some sense.
Oh, it does make sense. Hey, real quick, kind of go into when we sold the Waco dealership. Kind of how that developed and how you brought John in and how it all kind of worked out like that.
Definitely. So this is the McDonald's deal that I was telling you about, and John Burnbury, who's been on the podcast, who sat in that seat. The guy is a wizard in commercial real estate. He's got a pipeline of deals that come his way.
Wow.
He buys them. You know, whether it's an old bank, whether it's, you know, a commercial property here, there, wherever, usually not in Texas, all over the country. He adds the value, and then he brings in, you know, the next, usually it's a group to buy it, you know, or ground lease it, and then he'll sell it off. So, you know, he was smart enough when we had the Waco car dealership to put in, you know, a purchase price that at the end of our lease, you know, we had or at any time during the lease, we had the right to purchase it. So we had that set. Lease was coming up. The car dealership, we were moving out of that location. And I, you know, through an acquaintance or now good friend at the golf course, I said, hey, John, come look at this property in Waco. I think there could be something there. We drive down there. He's like, man, if you want to do something, I'm all in on this property. So it was 3 different parcels. It was really cool because we have no cash in the deal. So we sold one of the partials, did a same-day close, which was our equity piece in the deal. That left us with 2 parcels. We owner financed the back parcel. You know, at 10%, which was fantastic. And that left us the corner location at South Valley Mills in Waco, a mile from campus. It's a 8-lane road, CVS on one corner, Walgreens on the other corner, and a car wash on the third corner. This is his expertise. We took it to market to figure out who wanted to ground lease this from us. We ground leased it to McDonald's, which is the best there is in ground lease and cap rate when you sell. They open up the 1st of April. And now we have it on the market. It went on the market last week at I think a 3.87 cap, which is an aggressive, like we're looking to sell it. And we'll get around that. 3.8 to 4 is where these are, you know, everything in Texas is sold recently.
Sure.
So it turned into, you know, the best real estate deal that I've done.
Yes.
And to not have any cash in the deal, you know, with how everything came together, I mean, it literally was like, they're not going to be all that easy. They're not going to be all home runs like that was, because this is a mega home run.
Yes, it was.
Because we had Presley set a great purchase price with the landlord at the time. But just a super cool deal, and it really has me. That's why I was asking you questions ahead of time, letting you know about the guy that I came in town with. That's a multifamily guy.
Sure.
And really has my wheels spinning on how to take that experience, start to find some new projects, find a guy like I was telling you about that he's not interested in small deals.
Sure.
Like this is a big fund that wants 300 plus doors each deal they buy, but obviously brokers send them stuff all day long.
All the time.
So it's like, finding those relationships that then open the door and a guy that has a bulletproof model in the multifamily space. It's like, hey, run this in your model.
Yeah.
Let me know if it makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it's just, these relationships and past experiences really set the way for you moving forward to, achieve great success, get that residual income coming in from properties and really build your wealth, because real estate's such a wealth builder.
It is.
And if you can find a way to make it cash flow,
yes,
you are, God,
golden.
The sky's the limit on where you end up.
Mm-hmm. That's why I became very aggressive in the new construction space, because me having my beginning in buying single residences below wholesale, which is fine, which is a great purchase price, increasing the value, and then refinance the loan so that in cash flow. And I said, wait a minute, if I can do this from a standing edifice, what if I did it from a new construction space? And so there was a deal that came across my desk about 2 years ago, and it was a seller from Oregon, and she was kind of crazy a little bit, but she said, I have 15 properties already leased out, and this is next to the MSU, and I said, okay, but I also want you to buy 18 lots. Now, the 18 lots are already subdivided out, ready to build on, so it's plug and play. But there was no value for me on that at all. She said, no lots, no deal. So I said, okay, let me get these lots appraised. So I got the lots appraised. I said, okay, is there enough delta there for me to add this to the 15 properties? Yes, I bought 15 properties for 1.8. They're worth 2.8. So a great delta there.
Yep.
So I said, okay, how much are lots of the time? 10,000 apiece. I said, just put it on the loan. The bank says no problem with it at all. But they said, you have to buy it for something. So my attorney said that. I said, okay. I said, well, how about, so what should I buy it at? I said, $10. So I bought 18 lots, subdivided for $10 total.
That's a good deal.
Great deal. On free and clear. On free and clear, yeah.
You didn't have to finance it $10?
Nope. Not at all. I could have called Preston for it. I think he would have gave it to me. He fronted it to me.
Been a high interest rate, but I would have done it. But a point here is if you're leasing, like when we leased that car dealership, and we were there for a few years, we leased the car dealership, and when I was signing the lease, I thought, I know what it's worth now, but in a few years, this might be worth a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So I got them to put a purchase price in there at the current value when it was. And they went for it, and we put that in there. Well, then later, when Jordan was doing his deal, we got to buy it at a price from years earlier, and it had appreciated significantly. So it ended up being a phenomenal price. So when you're leasing something, just see if they will let you put an option to buy.
Yes.
But the whole key about the option to buy is make sure and put a price in there, because that price is what did it. Because if we'd have done an appraisal and I'd had to bought it at the appraisal price, Jordan probably wouldn't have done the deal, or wouldn't have made as much money if he had, So just a tip, just see if they'll let you put a price in there to buy it somewhere during the terms of that lease. But
How long was the lease?
It was a 3 year.
3 years.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing that worked well in that deal is during the closing, obviously it was like 45 days that it took. We have a company called the Shopco. Have you heard of the Shopco or seen the Shopco around Dallas?
I have not, no.
Commercial guys that, have, McDonald's in their hip pocket for deals, and 100 other massive companies.
Sure.
So we were able to float this thing out there during the time we were closing to get the feedback from, gas stations, fast food restaurants, coffee shops. And we had such great feedback that we're like, okay, we have 5 companies that want it. We haven't even closed yet.
Sure.
So we feel very confident, and we have an idea of what the ground lease will be. So it's like you could run rough numbers before we ever closed on it that, you knew you were in the green.
Correct. That was a sexy deal. My God.
This thing opens April 1.
April 1. And we didn't get any free McDonald's, nothing.
Nothing?
You should have negotiated something in the ground lease.
I know.
Something like that. Some nuggets or
Free
something.
burgers or
No,
something.
I'm mad at John.
We need to go out there on April 1st and buy a burger just in honor of the deal.
I think I sent you pictures the other day.
You did.
We went by it and saw it, and it's just crazy because it's a big location for McDonald's, and just to see that on the property you had and what was there, because they had to tear down, do demolition. It was like I said, I'm not experienced in that field, but from just what John said, he's never seen It took a while with McDonald's to get everything inked up.
Sure.
But he has said, I've never seen somebody do so much groundwork ahead of time. So like the second that deal was signed, Like the bulldozers were there. The city had signed off on everything. Like it was a full send at that point because of all the groundwork that was done ahead of time. So, from close to, open was a maybe 6 months, maybe less than 6 months. But it was like there was no waiting at that point. They were moving.
Good deal.
And what's wild about that? Not wild. Semi-sad to me is we bought an old dealership.
Yeah.
Old. They hadn't done anything to it in, I bet, 30 years. I mean, talking about dated and all that. We go in there and totally redid this place and made it pretty slick.
Wow, okay.
So then to watch them just bulldoze it and tear it down was almost a little bit sad there because we'd put a lot of effort in. I mean, knew everything in this place.
Yeah.
And but obviously financially came out phenomenally well. But it was something that we bought an old dealership, fixed it up, sold cars out of it for 3 years, and then ended up buying it. And now we can eat hamburgers.
Now you guys still have the dealership, or you liquidated out of that whole thing?
We're out of the car dealerships.
How did it feel for you guys to begin with one dealership, grow up to multiple locations, then to exit?
It felt good. Obviously, it was a lot of work. When you talk about having a finance company, a dealership, and then we had a 16-bay shop that was operating full time. Getting through inventory. It was a massive operation. So it's nice to kind of slow that down.
Sure.
Not have as much risk out there, and be doing a bunch of other stuff now.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, when you're the bank, which in essence we were, well, we had a lot of money in the deal.
Sure.
But when every time a car rolls off that lot, even though you get a nice down payment and all that, it was several $1,000s every time a car rolled off the lot going out there, and the return's phenomenal. But you're getting it back in little pieces like this. So we had to have a line of credit that was tens of millions of dollars.
Sure.
So you always have that hanging over you. So we just decided that that and what Jordan's talking about. Lots of work. Lots of work. We just decided there's got to be a way to not quite have so much work and have so much debt. Debt's good in certain instances, but I didn't like that debt. But anyway.
So getting back to multifamily.
Sure.
Because I think so many people are interested in multifamily. Apartment complexes.
Sure.
They're sexy.
They can be.
They're not sexy to look at, but they're sexy on paper and what they can do for you. Kind of explain how you got into that, and then give if you can, kind of a ballpark idea of, let's just say we got 100-door property, the kind of breakdown of how the finances work, how to get it to cash flow, all that kind of stuff.
For me, I take the same concept that I actually did for single-family residences. I like to buy deals below wholesale. I never buy retail. You make money when you buy, not when you sell. Selling is just icing on the cake. Yeah. And so typically, like I'm looking at a deal right now in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm literally buying the entire town of Jackson, house by house, subdivision by subdivision. But I actually had 2 or 3 apartment complexes come across my desk. I said, okay, one's 100 unit, another's 200 unit. I said, okay, I'm gonna look at it as well. And so I'll get it over to my internal appraiser. He's a licensed appraiser, Cliff, and he'll run the numbers. And we'll do at a 50% net NOI. So that's how we normally do it. And typically we know that when it comes to Jackson, it's going to be a higher cap rate. Yeah. Because Jackson, that's the reason why it's called Iraq. It's called that for a reason. And so we understand what we get into. So therefore, we're more aggressive when it comes to acquiring a property. Hypothetically, if they want, for instance, $1 million on it, I'm like, nah. If the cap rate is high, I'm like, nah. I look at about a 30 to 40% discount off the roof. Because I understand they have to come in and invest about another 10, 15% into it to get it up to par. Yeah. So I really want about a 40% discount, if not 50%. Typically, I kind of get laughed at initially at 50%, so we kind of land at 40%, knowing that I'm going to put about 10% into it. So I'm all in and around about 60%, knowing that I could refi after at 70 to 75, really about 70% of the new ARV. Yeah. So I'm buying 40% discount of the as-is value, not the after-repair value. Yeah. At the exit, man, it's typically those vacant rates are at 50%. So it's not a lot of money coming in. So therefore, I can be a lot more aggressive.
But back to our previous conversation here, that's your value add.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are broken properties.
Correct.
the vacancy is high.
Yes.
And then you're able to come in, put money in. What are you putting in per door? $10,000 to $20,000 per door to get them up to par.
Yes.
You know, which I'm assuming goes into kitchen and bathrooms or the main things that these people are wanting. Do that. That's your value add. Now, you know, people will want to come in, start moving in there.
Correct.
Vacancies getting less. You know, hopefully, whenever you sell a deal, what's your vacancy? Are you getting up in the 90% whenever you sell?
Easy.
And then what's your time frame throughout this?
I say 24 to 36 months.
Yeah.
I hold it for that long period of time. That's been a very good time frame. Some people say 5 years.
Definitely.
Mine is anywhere from 24 to 36 months. I may go to 48.
Yeah.
So to speak, depends on the deal.
Because like I mentioned earlier, the buddy that I came in town with, not buying as broken of property as that.
Sure.
But you know, he said, you know, our normal time will be 24 months.
Correct.
That they're holding a deal. So it makes sense if they, you know, vacancy's a little higher, it's going to take a little longer to get them in there.
There was a deal that I walked away from on the campus of Michigan State University, and it looked sexy from the get go. But then I looked at a couple of things. I said, okay, this is a great property outside looking. Why is the vacancy rate so high? And it's on the campus of MSU. So I began looking at, okay, something's not making any sense at all. So I began looking at the specs. So I think it was 400 units. 50% of those were 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Then they had like 20% of them were like 4 bedrooms and 3. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? And I began to notice that the ones that were 4 bedrooms were not getting leased out at all. And I'm like, why is that? Because the college kids that didn't want 4 bedrooms. They'll do 2 or maybe 3, but 4, that's a bit too much. Yeah. So I just said, nah, we're going to walk away from the deal. And they wouldn't budge on the purchase price. I wanted a discount. They said no. So I said, I'm out of the deal.
Yeah.
So I walked away from a lot of deals, a lot of good deals, because it just didn't fit my model.
Well, what do you look at 10 deals and, start underwriting 1 or 2 of those deals. And then from there, one out of, once you actually look at a deal, how many deals are you actually, bidding on to purchase that you say these are actual deals?
Typically, if I look at 10, I probably make a bid on 2.
Yeah.
20% of it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I may end up not getting, they may say no to both of them. They may say yes to one.
Yeah.
But that's why I like new construction so much, is because I'm buying, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So
you control the whole narrative
the
on the
whole thing. I love that. I love creating something out of nothing. That's me.
Definitely.
A lot of people are thinking, hey, I want to get into that. How do people find financing on buying either an existing apartment building, or if you're going to build some houses? And I know you're farther down the road, but for somebody that's new looking, how would they go about finding financing for getting a deal done?
I would say if you're going into apartment complexes, make sure you have somebody on your team that has experience, because you're going to need an asset-based lender.
Yeah.
Don't go to a local bank up front, because they don't know who you are. There's no relationship there. Versus if you go to a institutional lender, and there's a plethora of them out there, they're going to say, what have you done? Have you done this before? You can say, no, but my partner has. Who's your partner? How much of a percentage is he in the company? How many deals has he done? How big is your balance sheet now? They're going to look at all your experience and initiatives first, if you're doing new construction or apartment complexes. Once you get it across that whole hurdle, it becomes a lot easier. Then it's just the deal now.
Yeah.
It's the deal. That's all it is.
Did you use the word plethora?
I did.
Did you learn that at Lakeview High School?
No.
No? Okay. I just
No.
plethora.
No, did not at all. But the deal then runs it then. Yeah.
Definitely.
He's always giving me a hard time, guys. He has the permission to do it.
Well, to be fair, I did hear you give him a hard time when you walked in today.
I did.
You called him old.
I didn't call him old. I didn't say that. So why y'all keep saying that?
Well,
that's what we heard.
It sure sounded like that. I mean, not maybe in those words, but it kind of sounded that way,
But no, it's I would just say, as far as life wise, like you said before, he did coach me in high school, and people don't know. People see you as this successful person now, but guys, I remember him driving that old beat up Mazda truck with no AC in it.
The B2000.
B2000.
With it had it was gray with the stripes going down the side of it.
Yes.
5-speed truck, by the way.
Yes, it was.
5-speed truck.
He'd come pick up myself, Lewis, Chris Litz, DeMarcus, and we'll go up to the gym and go hoop. We would. And so he tells a story all the time when he gives presentations about him going to eat lunch at Lakeview High School. And that's real.
Yeah.
He would do that. We'd see him in the line. We'd see him in the line like, what are you doing here? Finna eat.
Well, I couldn't take you guys home in today's world because back then, 4 or 5 people would be in the back of the truck.
Yes, they would.
Now they won't let you stick people in the back. I don't know how we'd work it now because we'd fit 2 of the guys in the front because you could fit 3 across in there.
You could.
But then we'd have 4 or 5 in the back, and I'd be toting everybody home.
Sure would. We'd be 7, 8 deep. 7, 8 deep. We sure would.
In a car that in a truck that held 2.5.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. That's correct.
Yeah, the guy in the middle had to be careful because the shifter was right there too. You know, so you had to be a little careful right there.
Yeah, sit the side like this. That's how we would do it. Guys, that's real. That is, he would do that all the time. But he didn't know that by him doing that, at times he would kind of be rescuing us from bad situations. Because basketball at the time was our safe place. We'd go out and hoop and build character and teamwork and things of that nature because we all wanted to win. Is that right?
Amen.
We wanted to win.
What's the kind of jumping off topic onto that subject? Is there one story you remember about him coaching, about your time at Lakeview, that sticks out more than anything else?
Yes. I was playing JV, and we went to the playoffs. And this is when we had 4 All-Americans. And they brought me and a couple other guys up to be on the bench. And we were playing Kimball High School at Moody Coliseum. And it was a close game. And I had been shooting fairly well in warm-ups. And Coach Dorsey had been seeing me shoot. So I'm thinking, I'm finna get in the game. I'm finna get in the game. And so, okay, we need a 3. And Coach Dorsey said, Buggs has been hitting. And I'm nervous, like, I'm finna get in this game. And so Coach looks at me, he goes, nope, we're going this way.
Nope.
No, but I said, now, we lost the game, I think, by like 2. But that's when I had Gerald Sassa and they had a squad.
Did you let him know afterwards that if he would have put you in, you would hit it?
Nope, not at all, because we lost.
Yeah.
And he wasn't too happy.
No. And by the way, that year, Kimball went on to win state,
Sure
and
did.
we gave them the closest game they had.
Sure
I think
did.
it was actually a 3-point game.
Okay.
That we could have won that, and I believe we had a chance to win state if we could have got by them.
If you would have put Buggsy in, you would have.
I know, and I look back with regret now. I mean, I have trouble sleeping thinking I should have put Buggsy in.
I
and
don't
let him,
know. When you have Chris Litch and Lewis Brown and DeMarcus Minor and Robert Chapman, those are for All-Americans.
Michael Robinson.
Michael Robinson.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a squad that year. We really did.
We
Really did. Yeah. But anyways. Yeah, man.
What else you got?
What do you think of the Luka trade? We'll talk hoops for a second before we exit this podcast.
Well, initially I didn't like it. I was actually sick when I heard about it. Me and my wife and my kids all had the flu at the same time. So I'm upstairs in the guest room. She's downstairs in the master bedroom, and I'm laying down at 11 o'clock, and all of a sudden you hear that dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. I'm like, what? I was pretty upset about this. I thought it was a joke.
Yep.
But no,
I
it
think
was
everybody
for real.
did.
I said, what is going on here? And then to see the fallout with Nico Harris and how he talked and how Jason Kidd talked as well also. And I of course, Anthony Davis he's a star, superstar. Yeah. But I'm like, how do you trade someone at their prime? And how Nico kind of did it, I was like kind of behind closed doors and didn't let Luka or AD know, or even Jason Kidd, the coach. It was kind of shaded to me a little bit. But if you look at it from basketball scenario, it was a good trade as far as talent wise, because before Anthony Davis got hurt, and at first he put in some work.
Yeah,
he really did. What do you think, Coach?
Well, it's like you and I were talking about earlier. I think the aspect people don't look at is Luka was up for that supermax contract,
yes,
which, I mean, it's I can't even hardly say these numbers. $70 million a year. $70 million a year. Well, your salary cap's at $140. I don't think it was a talent decision that Luka's not a good enough player. I think it was we can't afford to give one guy half of our salary cap. I really think that's what it boiled down to. Now, obviously, I don't know Nico. Hadn't talked to him. Maybe it was talent. I don't know what he was looking at it, but I'm guessing that it was because you give one guy $70 million, then Kyrie gets another $40 million. Well, there's $110 million. Well, you got $30 million to fill out 13 more spots.
Sure.
So I actually think it came down to just finances. Not that they couldn't afford it. I think the Adelmans and all those, that owns the team now, I think they got plenty of money.
Yeah.
Like 30 some odd $billion. But I just think it was a salary cap issue.
Do you agree? You agree, Jordan?
I only watch hockey. No, it's tough. Grayson, my son, had the Luka jersey and all the stuff, so it's tough because he was just the face of the city.
He was.
Like everybody loved him, but there's so much more. Like y'all said, there's so much more to go into a decision like that.
It is.
And I do think the defensive aspect is very, very important to win a championship. And if you don't have somebody, it's great that you put up 35 a game, but if the other team puts up 35 on you, then what did we really gain?
Nothing.
So it's nice to, if we ever get off this injury issue that we're on right now, I think, it's going to be tough to score. And you still got firepower.
And they're big. They're huge.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw something today, like the March 24th game, they won't happen, but they could have to forfeit.
Wow.
Because there's all these things with the way the I'm talking like I know, but I don't. But just how they have to pay players, who they can pull up, who they can't,
Sure.
and they have a major issue because Exum broke his hand in the last couple days.
Wow.
So that's correct, isn't it?
I hadn't heard that.
This was maybe I'm completely messing this thing up, but basically they've already called guys up. You can only call so many guys up. Certain guys you can't call up because you got to convert them to a different contract, and they're in a real pickle.
Wow.
On being able, all these moving pieces that they've had to do because of injuries, as well as the money they can spend. Like they've got a pickle that they have to figure out how to piece it together just to put a team.
Yeah, because I think you got to have 8 guys.
You got to have 8 guys,
up.
it was an ESPN deal I watched this morning on YouTube about it. But you can't lie on the injury report. So it's like they can't bring people to come sit on the bench and say they're good because they're not, even though they wouldn't play. But it's like they got this pickle, and they said the March 24th, I think it is, game will be like they're gonna have to pull some out of their hat just to get the guys on the bench.
Well, I wish I could have seen, because the one game Anthony Davis played with us, we dominated.
Oh, you did.
We dominated. I think, and that's the aspect you said, he can score you 25 points, but also he can play some serious defense.
Yes, he can.
I think that was a game changer. I hate it for Nico's reputation because I think if we could have kept the team together, I think they would have dominated and had a chance to win a championship.
Yeah.
But I've never seen an injury bug like the Mavericks have had. I mean, it's like, he goes down the first game, then Kyrie tears his ACL, and then Lively's hurt, Gafford's hurt. I mean, it's like all of them are hurt, and it's like, you never got to really see the team.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. Next year will come around. We'll see how they are.
The guy I watched, I wish I remembered his name from ESPN, but he just said, and I've done this for 30 years, and I've never seen a situation like this.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's-
Let me ask you guys a question real fast. I've known business from a Presley standpoint, and I will go on that in a second. Jordan, you played college baseball at a high level and also pro baseball at a high level. What got you interested in business?
Interested in business would definitely be, obviously, my pops. I remember the days of Lakeview, and I remember the days of the lifestyle I got to live,
Sure.
Through high school and through college, and, him being able to come buy a house in Arizona. I mean, a nice spot. My parents being able to be at every game, travel, when he had a plane and would fly me to tournaments, you see that compared to the Lakeview days, and you say, okay, I kind of want to follow suit there.
Sure.
So obviously, and us having just a fantastic relationship and be able to do stuff together, owning your own business, doing your own stuff brings a lot of freedoms. It can bring a lot of stress as well, but overall they outweigh the stresses, and you can really build something for yourself that sets up you, that sets up your kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a really cool way to take care of your family.
Sure.
And I think just seeing that also, I was never the guy that could have had somebody looking over his shoulder, telling him what to do. You know, that just isn't my personality.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely went into the business space, and then from there it becomes a game. Like, you know, it's Monopoly.
Yeah.
Like let's take this thing over, which is really, really cool. And you know, we've got to do a lot of different things. Some home runs, some complete losses that lose you money, and you just build on those. You know, what you've learned in those situations, and you know, shift and maneuver and keep finding your way to keep moving upward.
Now, how have you guys been able to balance out the father-son scenario in business?
We've never had an issue.
Really?
We never once have had a disagreement.
Yeah. I mean, you know, something minor maybe, but we've never had a big blow up where we're hollering at each other or anything like that.
We're
pretty amazing.
so alike, which obviously for those of you still watching right now, it's like you got to know your role in business. We know we're both visionaries, so if we don't have an integrator, we're screwed. So it's like we do not get in the weeds. We have ideas. 1 out of 10 ideas is fantastic, but we have a lot of ideas.
Sure.
And we have to have an integrator that's in the weeds that turns those ideas into actions and manages those, making sure everything's getting done the way it should. So you got to know where your personality, you got to know what type of business man or woman you are, and then you got to make sure your team is the right team that takes it and runs with it and manages properly.
Interesting.
Yeah, Jordan and I can come up with some ideas, baby.
They're not cheap ideas.
No, no, we think big, but we definitely are the visionaries.
I'll say the biggest hire and my favorite person of all time, Deborah Barker, which was our COO in the car, with the car dealerships. And, you know, you bring ideas to her and she's like, nope. Okay, I like that one. Let's go with it. But we had that person that was just, you know, unbelievably savvy, unbelievably smart, understood the numbers inside and out, and could take those ideas and say, this makes sense, and this one doesn't.
Yeah, and she'd look at us and go, no.
Yeah.
Just no. No.
So definitely that's some of my biggest advice, because if you don't like being in the weeds of stuff, you're never going to be good at it.
No,
it's not going to get done, and you're going to end up, you know, not running a company properly and having issues.
Sure.
If you don't have the right people on the team.
Makes sense. Now, how have you guys been able to rebound from those losses together?
Some have been harder than others. I would say, you know, obviously losses sometimes fall more on his shoulders than mine. But I try to equally help out in those losses, you know, as much as I can help out, even though, you know, mine may be 20% or 10% of what his loss was, but you know, I try to help out as much as I can. You know, and we're both in it 100%.
Sure.
We both take responsibility for our actions. And the whole time going through made the best decisions possible for the best outcomes. And so we live with those. It really has never affected anything outside the office. And, you know, some have been tough, some have been big numbers that we lost. And, you know, I think his positive outset is, helps you through those situations. But, you know, it's business. And going in, you know what the risk is. And you know that every deal is not going to be a good deal. So, you know.
Well, I look at it like you win or you learn. I don't win or lose. I win or learn, and you'll figure out. And I'm sure you've been there.
Sure.
When you have a deal that goes south on you, you learn a whole lot because you don't want that to happen again.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
you know, we learned a lot about, you know, we in some businesses we should have paid more more attention to the percentages as opposed to the overall numbers. And I mean, you just learn all this stuff that you go, oh yeah, that makes sense now. I should have done that. But, you know, it is what it is.
Because let me say one more thing that is very key. Massive growth can cover up a lot of issues. So it's just because you're growing and more money's coming in the door does not mean you are, you know,
That's good.
you're running a successful company.
That's good.
So it's balancing, making sure that things are right, even though every month more money's hitting the bank account.
That's good.
So I think that's a big key.
That's good. This has been good.
Yeah, we learned that. Well, all right, give people, Buggsy, one last closing thought on real estate.
One last closing thought, and then where to find you.
Yeah.
Because one thing we didn't talk about is obviously you have a podcast as well.
I do. I have a podcast. It's really two, but it's on my same channel. It's called the Counter Move Podcast, and also we have something called the Cash Flow Club Real Estate Friday Live. Every Friday at 5 p.m. CST, you can be me, myself, and Cliff, my licensed appraiser and partner. We talk about real estate, what's going on in the current market, and how you can kind of counter move and make some money. And on Thursday at 8:30 p.m., I take a political issue or social issue, unpack it, we kind of infuse wisdom into it. It's called the Counter Move Podcast. And for me, I would say you're one decision away from changing your life. Just one. And you have two guys here, Jordan and Coach Swaggerty, that can assist you and maybe point you in the right direction. And be okay with it. I don't know. Let's look at this here as well also. But again, for you guys to be listening to the Residual Earners Podcast, you're in the right place. So keep coming back. You won't be.
One last time, give them your podcast where they can find you.
It's called the Counter Move Podcast. Just put my first and last name into YouTube. It comes up.
Perfect. And we'll link that below for
Sure.
everybody so that you can just click on it, find Buggsy and run with him.
Amen. Hey, tell people about the university, Jordan.
Yeah.
Definitely, guys. So, again, we are so excited about the university, creating a community where like-minded people can go and really learn from one another. If you feel like you're stuck in a rut, if life is not going how you planned or how you want it to go, join us in the university. We bring guests on every Wednesday. We have other events going through the week that you can learn from people like LaDell here on what is going on from, real estate, wealth management, all these different subjects that will really help change your life and also give you a community to run with winners. That's our big thing. We want you to run with winners. We want you to learn from people, and we want everyone to be able to better their life if that's something you want. It's on school. ResidualEarnersUniversity.com. So check that out, guys. It's an unbelievable movement that we have going, and we're so excited. Also gives you access to myself, to my pops over here. We're in the comments. We're answering questions. So, if you have questions for Presley on things, he's in there. It's actually him that's going in and responding to people. So it's a great chance to get connected with us as well. And, it's just something we're excited about.
And we've actually got Reagan Rue,
Reagan,
social media expert. She's actually sitting over there looking at me now. So we've got Reagan Rue there as far as the social media aspect, that she is a guru. So
And I'll tell you this, Coach, also, 2 or 3 weeks, we're rolling out something called the Cash Flow Club Pro. So it'll be the online modules for you to learn, whether it be new construction, apartment complexes, or single residences. It's online modules. You walk through it.
That's awesome.
We have the calculated spreadsheets there, what we use every day. You can have access to it. We rolled it out in 3 weeks.
Love that.
Oh, man.
We'll keep people in the loop about that. And we got to get Buggsy on the Run with Winners Wednesdays.
We do. We'll do that. And, man, that Lakeview education's doing okay for you, Buggsy.
Yeah, you a good coach, but better teacher. Good math teacher.
So awesome, guys. Well, thanks everybody for joining in. Thanks, Buggsy, for stopping by. This has been a real treat for us, and just happy to always fun hanging out with you and getting to learn from you.
Yes, sir.
All right. God bless you guys. Love
Awesome.
you.
Thank you. Love you.
Peace.